Spent my 60 years laughing at the book I gave the holy man. A cynical and hateful look. I said that heaven was a fairy tale for scared and little men, and hell was just a story to keep the lions in the den. I bet my bottom dollar that the dark was just asleep, a silent, dreamless slumber that was comforting and deep. But when the final breath left my chest and hit the air, I opened up my eyes and I wasn't sleeping there. The fire isn't figurative, the isolation's real, and there ain't no court of appeals to make a better deal. I'm searching for an exit, but the doors are built too strong, and I'm starting to unravel as the seconds drag along. Yeah, I made a heavy wager, and I sang a defiant song. But eternity is a long time to be wrong. I remember how I mocked the ones who knelt upon the floor. I told them that their God was dead behind the iron door. I walked with chest out, proud of my own design, convinced that I was master of this ragged soul of mine. Now I'd give 1,000 kingdoms for a single drop of rain, for a second of forgiveness to wash away the stain. But the silence here is screaming and the shadows here are tall, and I'm the only one who answers when I hear my mother call. The fire isn't figurative, the isolation's real, and there ain't no court of appeals to make a better deal. I'm searching for an exit, but the doors are built too strong, and I'm starting to unravel as the seconds drag along. Yeah, I made a heavy wager, and I sang a defiant song. But eternity is a long time to be wrong. A million years will pass, and I'll still be sitting here. A billion years will pass, and I'll still be full of fear. There is no morning coming, there is no rising sun. The calendar is broken, the race is never run. I wanna take it back, let me take it back. So listen to me, brother, while you still have got the breath. Don't be so damn confident about what comes after death. You might be smart and wealthy, you might be strong and bold, but the currency of arrogance don't buy you out of the cold. I'm fading into the background. I'm becoming part of the night. A cautionary whisper from the losing side of the fight. Forever and ever and ever, it don't end. It never ends. God help me. Eternity is a long time to be wrong. The man in the black robe looked down from his perch like a buzzard waiting on the steeple of a church. He laid his hand upon the book, bound in leather skin, but he didn't care about the truth and he didn't care about sin. The air in the courtroom was thick enough to chew, filled with the lies of the many and the sorrow of the few. I looked up at the ceiling, trying to see the sky, asking the Almighty to let the verdict pass me by. I screamed a prayer to the heavens, I begged for a sign, I asked for a miracle to turn the water into wine. But the clouds didn't open and the angels didn't sing, just the hollow wooden sound of a judgment ring. Yeah, the devil was listening, doing his job well, but God went deaf when the hammer fell. Weeping in the second row back, clutching a rosary until the beads began to crack. She cried out for mercy, she cried out for grace, but the judge kept a stone cold look upon his face. He raised up that mallet carved from ancient hope, and with a single swing, the silence broke. It wasn't loud like thunder, it wasn't sharp like a gun, but it ended my life before the setting of the sun. I screamed a prayer to the heavens, I begged for a sign, I asked for a miracle to turn the water into wine. But the clouds didn't open and the angels didn't sing, just the hollow wooden sound of a judgment ring. Yeah, the devil was listening, doing his job well, but God went deaf when the hammer fell. They say he hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He hears the sparrow, but he never hears the night. He it hits the ground. They say his love is lost and found. But in this court of law, on this afternoon, he must have been busy on the dark side of the moon. And I shouted, Lord, and the only thing that answered back was the echo of the wood. Full of nothing and an empty box of hope. Tomorrow at dawn, there's another hammer due, the one that drops the floor out from under my shoe. I won't waste my breath on another holy word, since the last one I shouted was clearly unheard. Bang goes the wood, bang goes the light, bang goes the drum. He ain't listening, he ain't there. God went dead when the hammer fell. With a smirk upon his face, looking down his nose at the ruins of this place. He said, your daddy left you zero in the bank account, son. He drank away the acres and he gambled off the gun. There wasn't no gold watch, there wasn't no deed, just a legacy of whiskey, violence and greed. He handed me a box that was heavy as a stone and left me in the shack to rot there all alone. I didn't get the silver, the town afraid, and a history of digging in the shallow glade. Yeah, looking at the cards that the devil played, I inherited nothing but a bad name and a rusty blade. I pulled it from the velvet stain with ancient brown. It's a knife that cut the throat of the sheriff of this town. The handle is a bone, worn smooth by sin or sweat. It hums inside my palm like a promise and a thread. The edge is jagged iron, pitted by the rain, but it's sharp enough to open up a major vein. The folks in the village that cross the other street, they know the family tree is rotten at the feet. I didn't get the silver, the shade, I didn't get the debt that the old man paid. I got a reputation that makes the town afraid, and a history of digging in the shallow glade. Yeah, looking at the cards that the devil played, I inherited nothing but a bad name and a rusty blade. I try to scrub the rust, I try to change the names, but the iron wants the blood, and the blood wants the fame. It's a heirloom of hatred, it's It's a birthright of pain. I'm just a hand that holds it out in the coming, don't ask me for a dime. I'm rich in nothing else but misery and crime. This knife belongs to history, but now it's in my grip, and I feel the old man's anger rising to my lip. You can keep your holy Bibles and your fields of corn. I got the sharpest destiny that ever was born. It's still sharp, rusty as hell, but it cuts deep. Yeah, just a bad name. Rusty blade. Thanks, Daddy. I met him at the junction of Route 9 and the abyss. He sealed the contract with a handshake and a hiss. He wore a suit of linen and a hat of midnight felt. He promised me the hottest hand that he had ever dealt. I didn't ask for money, I didn't ask for fame. I just wanted a melody that would put the birds to shame. He smiled a jagged smile, and he handed me the quill, and I signed away eternity to pay the music bill. Perfect rhythm, perfect rhyme, and perfect holy note. But the radio is silent, and the jukebox is unplugged, and the crowd is staring through me like a memory they shrug. I gave away my future, I gave away my wings. Yeah, I sold my soul for a song nobody sings. I've played it in the dive bars where the floor is sticky sweet. I've played it on the corners of the cold and empty street. The lyrics are the gospel truth, the chords are deep and wide, but the world just turns its collar up and hurries on inside. It's a curse of isolation, a joke he played on me, to give a man a voice that no one else can hear or see. I'm screaming out a symphony into a vacuum jar. The
for a sound old body sing. Maybe that's the torture, maybe that's the hell. Not the fire or the brimstone or the sulfur smell. It's knowing that you're holding diamonds in your hand, and everyone around you only sees the sand. They only see the sand. So I'll play it one more time for the moths around the light. I'll play it for the shadows stretching out across the night. The devil got his payment, and I got my receipt. A heavy heart, a hollow chest, and a shuffling beat. When I die, don't put a marker on the potter's field. Just bury me with this guitar and keep the coffin sealed. Can you hear it? No, neither can they. It's a beautiful tune. It really is. I sold my soul. For a song nobody sings. The neon lights of the ballroom are fading in the rear. I left my tab on the table along with my fear. The stray dog that walked with me for a mile or two found a better offer in a shinier shoe. The wind is cutting through this denim coat of mine, and the moon is hanging heavy like a warning sign. I look over my shoulder to see who's on my track, but the road is empty, stretching infinite and black. The look I had to stay back at the table. The woman I held, she was just a fable. The friends I bought, they vanished with the gin, leaving me outside looking at the sin. I ain't got a disciple, I ain't got a loan. I'm walking to a kingdom on a broken throne. Yeah, looking down at the asphalt and the stone. My shadow is the only thing that follows me home. Tall and he's dark and he mimics my stride. He don't ask for money and he don't ask to ride. He don't judge the staggering, he don't judge the fall. He's painted on the ground and he's painted on the wall. When I stop to light a smoke, he stops there too. A silent companion, faithful and true. He's witnessed every crime and he's witnessed every tear. He's the only one who's willing to be standing near. The luck I had stayed back at the table. The woman I held, she was just a fable. but even he leaves me when the lights go out. When the darkness is total and I'm filled with doubt, he waits for the morning, he waits for the spark to come back and haunt me, to make his mark. He's attached to my heels like a ball and a chain, a silhouette born of the sun and the rain. Of the shack, I throw my hat on the rack and the coat off my back. I light a single candle on the wooden crate, and there he is again, appearing by the grate. We sit and we stare at the flickering flame, me and the phantom with no face and no name. We'll ride out the night until the break of the dawn, two lonesome drifters on a desperate loan. Just me and him stretching across the floor. He didn't leave, he never leaves. My shadow is the only thing that follows me home. Chocolates, and she don't want the rose. She don't want the poetry that everybody knows. She's sitting on the dresser with a cold metallic stare. There's a smell of sulfur hanging heavy in her hair. She's heavy in my pocket, she's heavy in my hand. The most dangerous addiction in this godforsaken land. I treat her with respect, I treat her with care, 'cause I know the slightest slip will leave a hole in the air. She's got a hair trigger temper and a heart of cold blue steel. She's the only kind of power that I ever wanna feel. The safety catch is broken and the hammer's pulled back tight. We're playing Russian roulette in the middle of the night. One wrong move and the damage will be gone. Yeah, she loves me like a loaded gun. I sleep with one eye open, watching for the spark, listening for the movement in the corners of the dark. She rests upon the pillow, quiet as a mouse, but she holds the final judgment on this quiet, lonely house. It's a thrill to hold the weapon, it's a thrill to know the way to be lying in the bed next to a volatile fate. She threatens me with silence, she threatens me with noise. She ain't like the other girls, she ain't like the other toys. She's Lord, she loved me like a loaded gun. Recoil is coming for my chest. Recoil, put the lover to the test. I'm waiting for the explosion. I'm waiting for the flash. Is it gonna be a kiss or a pile of ash? Some men look for comfort, some men look for peace, some men look for a woman who can offer release. But I was born for trouble, I was born for the strife. I need a woman who can end or defend my life. So point it at my heart, baby, steady out your aim. I'm ready for the bullet if you're ready for the blame. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, she loves me. She really loves me. Keep it loaded, don't put the safety on. She loves me like a loaded gun. She loves me like a loaded gun.
It only took a second for the hand in the ground. It only took a heartbeat for the ticking to stop. The thunder in the room was deafening and loud, wrapping up the truth in a sulfur smelling cloud. I stood there in the haze while the ringing filled my ears, watching the end of a friendship built on 20 years. A blue-gray fire was drifting toward the open door, revealing what was lying on the dusty wooden floor. The wind came through the window, fresh and cool and light. It chased away the shadows of the violent night. It took the smell of powder and then blew it to the hill, leaving just a silence, heavy, cold and still. It didn't take an hour for the air to lose a silk. Yeah, the room is empty now, and the flowers haven't wilt, but the smoke clears quicker than the guilt. I disassembled the pistol by the light of the moon, humming to myself a nervous broken tune. I wiped away the carbon, I oiled up the steel, trying to erase the way the trigger made me feel. I buried the casing in a hole beneath the pine, thinking I could bury this ragged soul of mine. I rode away from town with the sunrise on my back, leaving nothing behind
smell of powder, and it blew it to the hill, leaving just a silence, heavy, cold and still. It didn't take an hour for the air to lose itself. Yeah, the room is empty now, and the flowers haven't wilt, but the smoke clears quicker than the guilt. You can wash your hands in the river till the skin is raw and red. You can ride 1,000 miles from the body of the dead, but the stain is on the inside, written on the bone. You're never really empty, you're never really alone. The ghost is in the mirror, the ghost is in the eye. Like breath in the cold, and I'm just a stranger, weary and old. I look out at the horizon, clear and crystal blue, but I still see the haze that I'm looking through. The world moved on, the seasons turned the page, but I'm still standing center stage in that cage. The air is clean, the sky is bright, but it's still dark inside the night. Yeah, the smoke is gone, long gone, but the guilt, the smoke clears quicker than the guilt.
I built this cabin 20 miles from the nearest road, trying to drop the burden of a heavy violent load. I thought the timber was silent, I thought the wood was dumb, I thought I'd find a quiet place where the judgment wouldn't come. But the sap is rising early and the bark is peeling back, and the shadows in the forest are turning pitch and black. I stepped out on the porch to smoke a cigarette and heard a sound upon the breeze I never will forget. It wasn't just the rustle of the leaves against the stone, it was the distinct vibration of a voice I'd known. The oak is saying Billy, the pine is saying Jack, the willow's weeping Thomas with a knife inside his back. The forest isn't empty, the forest isn't still. God help me, the trees are whispering names of men I killed. One I killed. I grabbed my axe and swung it hard into the trunk of white, trying to silence the accusations of the night. But when the blade went into the wood, it didn't seep with sap. It bled a crimson river into the thirsty lap. Every ring inside the core is a year I stole away. Every twisted knobby root is a debt I have to pay. They're passing the gossip from the canopy to the ground, surrounding my sanctuary with a wall of sound. It wasn't just the rustle of the leaves against the stone, it was the distinct vibration of a voice I'd known. The oak is saying Billy, the pine is saying Jack, the willow's weeping Thomas with a knife inside his back. The forest isn't empty, the forest isn't still. God help me, the trees are whispering names of men I killed. Then I killed. I can't cut them all down. There's too many standing tall. They're leaning in closer, they're trying to make the cabin fall. The branches are fingers, the leaves are tongues, sucking the air right out of my lungs. But the choir of the timber is confirming all my fears. There's a jury in the thicket, there's a judge inside the glen, sentencing the sinner for the lives of buried men. I'm part of the garden now, I'm fertilizer for the green, the maddest gardener that the world has ever seen. Listen, can you hear him? Charlie, Samuel, the boy from Tupelo. They remember. The trees remember. They're whispering. Shut up! The names of men I killed. Don't care which side you fought on. Cannon smoke has drifted south like a widow's heavy veil, and the moon is shining sickly pale upon the bloody trail. I'm walking through the tall grass where the devil did his work, where the angel of the morning is afraid to even lurk. I see the blue, I see the gray, tangled in the weeds, united by the silence and the darkness of their deeds. The general on the white horse shouted glory and renown, but the general and the private, they all fall just as down. You can wrap yourself in banners, you can die for holy laws, you can scream about the justice of your righteous noble cause, but the earth is cold and impartial, waiting for the dawn, and the banquet of the underground is waiting side you fought on. I see a boy from Georgia lying next to one from Maine. Their hands are frozen, reaching out across the falling rain. They hated one another when the sun was high and hot, trying to kill a stranger with a piece of lead and shot. But now the hate is cooled off with the fever in the blood, and they're sleeping like two brothers in the Tennessee mud. There ain't no Mason-Dixon line 6 feet beneath the clay, just a swallowing eternal night that takes the breath away. You can wrap yourself in banners, you can die for holy laws, you can scream about the justice of your righteous noble cause, but the earth is cold and impartial, waiting for the dawn, and the banquet of the underground is waiting on the lawn. Yeah, the dirt is neutral territory when the life is gone, and the worms don't care which side you fought on. News turn to green, iron rifles lose their sheen, flesh and bone return to dust, in the soil we place no trust. Doesn't know the anthem, the beetle doesn't know the flag. Trench meant for 100 nameless men, and I'll roll them in together, let the cycle start again. I won't separate the traitor from the hero or the brave, 'cause they look exactly equal at the bottom of the grave. Go tell the politicians back in Washington and Richmond town that their arguments don't matter when the box goes down. Eat up, little ones, feast on the pride, feast on the hate, it all tastes the same. Yeah, the worms don't care which side you fought on. See her dancing in the amber light, trapped behind the label, burning bright. I swore I'd leave the glass upon the shelf and finally make some peace with my own self. But the silence in this house is getting loud, and I'm looking for a face inside the cloud. I tell the landlord that I live alone, but he don't hear the rattling of the bone. I've tried to pour her down the kitchen sink, but she claws her way back up into the drink. She don't pay rent, she only takes a toll, eating out the lining of my soul. I can burn the house, I can curse the strict, but this bottle holds a ghost I can't evict. Yeah, she's swimming in the spirits, 80 proof, haunting me from the cellar to the room. Last night I smashed a fifth against the wall, watching $20 take the fall. I thought that shattered glass would break the spell and send her spirit back into its hell. But as the puddle spread across the floor, I saw a reflection smiling by the door. She whispered, honey, you can't kill what's dead. I'm living in the liquor in your head. I tried to pour her down the kitchen sink, but she claws her way back up into the drink. She don't pay rent, she only takes a toll, eating out the lining of my soul. I can burn the house, I can curse the strict, but this bottle holds a ghost I can't evict. Yeah, she's swimming in the spirits, 80 proof, haunting me from the cellar to the roof. It's an exorcism, sip by sip I taste her name upon my trembling lip. If I drink enough, maybe she'll drown. If I drink enough, maybe I'll go down to join her. So bartender, keep 'em coming, line 'em up, I'm having a communion with the cup. I ain't drinking 'cause I want the buzz to stay, I'm drinking just to keep the ghost at bay. Or maybe just to hold her one more time before I cross that jagged, blurry line. Here's to the tenant who never leaves, here's to the memory that always grieves. She's in the bottom waiting for the kid.